Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Do you think that what the Germans, the French, the Americans, and the Brits just did, and is reported by this article that I'm about to cover, qualifies as a official declaration of war against Russia by the named countries? And that is, these countries, all of them, have just lifted any range restrictions on the weapons they supply the finger, which is Ukraine. Do you think that qualifies as a declaration of war? If you say no, I will give you an example, and I hope you live through that example. The best way to teach people is like animals. Some people are incapable of figuring things out, and they react only when that hurts them, like animals. We are animals after all. But some of us are capable to use reason and to foresee things, plan ahead, understand that this action could possibly have this consequence will have this consequence, and so on. The rest of them, no, they can't. Only when they are hurt personally by a policy or an action, then their little nerve, they have a nerve, they don't have a brain, they have a nerve, and their brain starts vibrating, bzz, hurts, pain, bzz, bzz, what do I do? And then they try to figure things out that we tried to tell them for so long because we used our reason. Yes, we're better. We used our reason to anticipate and tell them this is most likely what will happen. No reaction. Once it hurts them, bzz, 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 bzz. Now, what happened? Let me give you the example. Actually, let me read the articles for you. Sputnik. United Kingdom, France, Germany, and the United States of America, this is the so-called collective West that the Russians were talking in vain about it, lift range restrictions on military supplies to Ukraine. Merz. I said this for such a long time, and they show me a storm shadow. No, they're going to show me a German Taurus missile. That's the whole point. Moscow, the United Kingdom, France, United States, and now Germany have lifted range restrictions on military supplies to Ukraine. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said, and I'm quoting, "There are no longer any range restrictions on weapons supplied to Ukraine. Not by the British, not by the French, not by us, which is the baboons from Germany, not by the Americans. This means that Ukraine can now defend itself. Before it couldn't, including, for example, by striking only military positions on Russian territory. Until a certain point, it could not do this," Merz said. Until a certain point. Now they can. Correct? Correct. So, if you think this is not a declaration of war, I will give you this. I will use logos and I will use pathos as well. So let's start with pathos first. So you have a family and you love your family and you are in a scuffle with another family and the family is bad. But you are good, you're good in your family. And when you fight the other family across the street, they shoot at your family, at your children. You have children and babies and toddlers. And some of them will perish because of the attacks. But they can't really, because the neighbor, the enemy, does not have the proper weapons to attack your children, your family that you love so much. Therefore, the other neighbors, like four, which is called US, France, Germany, and Great Britain, give your enemy, your neighbor that you're fighting, weapons to kill your children and your family. How would you describe the help the two neighbors gave your enemy neighbor? Would you describe it as olive branch? How would you describe it? What would you do if that would be the case? Remember, without the weapons from those neighbors, this neighbor would not be able to affect your family and your children. But now they do. They will, you and your family. What would you tell the other 4 guys? Remember, if you have the potential to fuck them up, I tell you what I would do them. Before any weapon is transferred, before, that means a bullet, not a Storm Shadow or a Taurus missile or a Scalp missile or a Patriot system or a HIMARS or a tank or an F-16 or a howitzer or anything like that, or Challenger tank, Leopard 2 tanks, Abrams. No, before everything I will tell them. If you send him one thing that can harm me, and let's go to pathos again, and my beautiful family and my children, I will send my nuclear weapons to you as a package. Trust me. All right? All right. Now, if they do that, actions have consequences. And we'll go and see Jesus, Moses, Brahma, and nobody, according to whom what believers or no believers might be there. Now, that's the way I would do it. Do you think that, let's say, the Americans are at the receiving end? Do you think they will not consider this or look at it the way it is? This is a declaration of war. Those guys destroy me for fighting this guy. But they are not at war with me. So they can supply everything they want, except, at this point, except one thing, military. Which I think there are contingents of foreign militaries over there, not volunteers and all this. No, military, under the pseudonym or euphemism of being, we are volunteers. I don't think so. So, how do you call this? I mean, unless you want to keep going with this, those guys will fight you using the Ukrainian nation, your cousins, your brothers, because the Ukrainian nation is owned by those guys. I would call it a declaration of war to me. The first bullet, those 4 countries or anybody else, because everybody else was waiting for the orders, like the Czech Republic and other idiots, Poland and Romania and these guys, they listened. They weren't there alone, or the Baltic, they weren't there to do anything alone. They did after the other guys did. I would tell those 4 guys, 1 bullet, 1 nuclear weapon to you. You don't believe me? Send 1 fucking bullet. Send it, man. Send it. Well, is it crazy? What should the Russians do? If not that, continue fighting? All right, let's put it this way. Do I want my country to do that to the Ukrainians and to the Russians? I don't want. Do I have a say? I voted for Trump, didn't I? Democracy, right? Did I vote for him to continue and give this to the Ukrainians? I didn't vote for that. That is the democracy for you. You vote for a guy who's going to tell you A, B, C, right? 3 things. You say, well, like 2 out of 3. The other baboon has nothing for me. So I vote for this guy. And then when he gets in the office, he might fulfill the 2 that he said and I liked, maybe. But then he adds about 15 more other things that I disagree with 100%. He did not say that in his campaign. But things change. We adapt. We have to react in self-defense, remember? That's how democracy works. You vote for an imbecile that does whatever he wants legally for 4 years, and you cannot intervene with anything. Go and protest? Go ahead. So go and, what's protesting? I don't like what you do. I don't like what you do. And the guy in the mirror, in the window, louder, you fucker, sucker, louder. He doesn't care. So this is democracy. 1 vote for everything. You give the guy you give a guy a mandate for things that you might disagree totally. For the 2 that you voted, he comes with 15 that he didn't say you disagree. So basically, if you knew, you wouldn't have voted for the guy. Too late, sucker. I think referenda should work. But they don't do that. They don't do it with social issues, with marriage, so-called, with snipping, with your children's, with the children's hormone blocking things. You know what I'm talking about. They don't do that. They just implement it, and you didn't vote for those guys. You find out, hey, I voted for Gigi. Gigi goes over there and votes for something that I vehemently disagree. What can I do? Vote him out? They're going to put forth another one that does the same thing to you. So this is democracy. So what should the Russians do? I told you what I would do. What the Russians will do? I don't know. They will say this is an escalation. Until the Russians are willing to hurt those four guys directly, and the interests that are harnessing those countries directly, those guys will continue. It's like someone comes to you, right, and he smacks you, and you say, well, we are fighting. And no, that's not a fight. I didn't declare any war to you, but I smack you. Wait a second. What you do qualifies as a declaration of war. No. That's no legal declaration of war. I didn't say I'm at war. I want to fight you. I didn't say that. I just punched you. And that qualifies as defending myself. What would you do? At one point, you as a country or as a people, you have to decide and say this. I know what I am. I respect myself. Therefore, I don't really give a fuck how you interpret that. This will talk, because reason does not work here. So, my friends, as I said, it's just a regrouping with the peace negotiations and all that. I knew and I told you that the Germans will supply whatever needed to Ukraine. They have a Jewish president, and the whole anyway, and these are Germans. They will be bashed and they will be shamed, and the Germans supposedly will feel a shame for their grandparents, what they did. That's collective punishment. It's in the Old Testament, so that's the rule they work. Not by our Greco-Roman civilization, no, the Judeo-Christian baboonish style. That's what it is. All right, my friends, I think this is a declaration of war. Clear and nice. I think it was one bullet you sent them was a declaration of war. That's where my standard would have started it as such. All right? The Russians, until the Russians promise to retaliate the manufacturing, that's what I would do. Well, who builds those weapons? Rheinmetall. Rheinmetall? Okay, Rheinmetall builds the Taurus missiles. I will strike Rheinmetall in Germany. I'm gonna give a fuck, Germans. Defend yourselves. And you know what? Attack me. Attack me. I will hit the points, the headquarters, everywhere these guys produce weapons to kill my family. Okay? That's what I would do. And I will strike them. If they want the Lockheed Martin, I will strike Lockheed Martin. What are they gonna do? Attack me? Let's go, man. At one point, they have to get to this point where it's craziness. Otherwise, we're gonna do what? Gonna have a threesome, or what's going on here? It's crazy. These guys supply these guys weapons to hit what? Moscow? This is a war. Those guys are fighting you with military. Just because that military is not their military, they're fighting you. Does it matter if Gigi pulled the trigger or Mikey? Or let's say, does it matter if, let's say, Svetlana pulled the trigger? Or does it matter if John, or I don't know, Jean, or Emmanuel, or let's say whatever, let's get a Manfred. Does it matter the name of the guy who pulled the trigger with my weapon? It doesn't really matter, because when you are in a war, it doesn't matter if Gigi shot at you, Mike shot at you, or George. It doesn't matter. You say, oh my God, is this guy? Who says it has to be all Georges or all Markies? Who says it has to be the Ukrainians only? These guys are fighting you with one finger. It could be used this one or this one. It doesn't really matter. Is the outcome. How do they kill my family? Only due to your weapons. Only. Without your weapons, my family would be safe. So let's eliminate the root cause, you. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.